Hello and welcome to the Build with Bear Workshop. My name is Pat Bear. I'm here to build a Lego set and some model kits and to hang out with all of you. I'm throwing the Bear Cave, the Lego, the site, the emote in the chat. If you're currently a subscriber, you can reply with those emotes. Harold, thank you for hosting the stream. Also, Harold, thank you for throwing those emotes in there. But yeah, let's hear from you. You don't have to use my emotes. You can use whatever you like. You can just say hi if you're not a subscriber or if you don't feel like it. Or you also don't have to say anything and you can just chill and be there silently judging me via your views. It's cool. I'm excited about tonight. Working on a model kit. Again, back in it. Lashbrook here. Hello, Lashbrook. It's going to take a moment to get to that point. Right now, doing the whole finishing this Lego set. I got the tree. Like, I got to build the top half of the tree because we did like the upside down version. And then we got to do the top half a regular version, and then we have to build the whole thing again. But we'll do that, and it'll be rad. And then we're gonna like put the whole thing together, and that'll be neat and strange to do. But yeah, we'll actually like finish this big Lego set. It's been a hot minute since I worked on anything but this Lego set, so I'm excited to put this thing to bed. And then, actually, it might take the whole stream to build this. I don't know. I don't think it will, but it could. The mistakes I made last time, I shouldn't make this time on this. So that'll be good. And we'll hang out. I've got some model kits here. They're gonna be pretty quick to build because like literally, the Pac-Man. This is all that comes in the Pac-Man. It's just these two because it's an entry grade, so it's inexpensive. So we'll like build it and then like panel line it, and that'll be it. It'll look pretty dang cool, I think. So I'm excited about working on that, and because it's just like I said, been a minute since I worked on a model kit. We'll ease back to it by doing some easy ones. We've got the Ultraman Kit, which is very similar to the Kamen Rider, of course, because it is just it's a man in a costume. Some of the detail on this is pretty great, but this is comparatively, this is just 3. So you're already dealing with more pieces. But yeah, this is part of the entry grade line that came out last year. I'm slowly building, I guess, all of them. It's such an awesome set. Hope you're enjoying it, dude. Mike, hey, Mike. Yes, I am. I'm enjoying it very much. Thank you. Let me dig over here because I have it complete. I have the house completed. And I can show you here. We'll go to the overhead. But yes, hello, Mike. Thank you very much for your generosity in making this whole thing possible. Appreciate it very much. Oop, that fell off. How does that go back on like that? Yeah. Great. So yeah, this Lego set was a lovely labor of love here. Push this aside, but you can see. So we've got here. We've got our upside down and our right side up. You can see the upside down there, the right side up on that side. And eventually it's going to live like this with the trees on either side, and the trees will connect right here. And then it'll be able to stand up because we'll have 2 of them. You're so welcome. Definitely my percent of a build. Yeah, this is like a massive kit. The only other kit I've built that's like this big and this many pieces was the 2011 Millennium Falcon we put together. And that was early on in my building, so it was like 2017. That was a lot, and then this has been, another massive kit. But you can see that there, and if I go like this, you can see that is the inverse there, and it just looks wonderful. So let me put this down so that we can get into building. I'm gonna retweet my tweet, and we'll get going. But yeah, this has been a really fun build. Just gonna send a retweet out, letting people know we're going. It is, as pointed out by a friend of mine today in text conversation, this is a wild assortment of stuff because I'm finished a Stranger Things, then there's a Pac-Man, and then an Ultraman, and it's just like, this isn't like Ready Player One, is it? Am I doing a Ready Player One by having like very disparate properties together? I hope not, but it is like, and also considering that like Stranger Things is an homage to things, Pac-Man's obviously a classic that's been reworked a dozen times, and of course, Ultraman has had inspired many creative processes and shows over the years, and has had many series. And again, we've done the Common Rider kits, so it'd be kind of fun to do an Ultraman there. Even if I'm not as familiar with Ultraman Zero as some other Ultramen. Um, and then yeah, also we're just working on this, and like I don't know, it's been fun to do a big Lego project. This has been a quite the process, and I have enjoyed it very much. Oh, I need one more of these here. And yeah, now we're working on the regular tree, and then we just have to build this tree over again. But obviously, we won't have like the wanted or the missing. I keep saying wanted. It's just missing. We won't have like the missing thing, which we'll also have on here on the other side. We won't have that because that's going to go like here or somewhere around here. We won't have that because there's only on the one tree. All right, and we did that, and then we'll go over here. I hope everyone's doing well. Would I like a few more folks to join us tonight? Certainly. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. It's okay. We have been doing this for quite some time, so I do understand if people are like, yeah, I saw that Lego thing. It's been a long process, which has been kind of fun. It's kind of fun to work on a very big Lego set like this. Okay, so the thing I've been thinking about that I want to talk about on stream tonight is Halo. We are in this year is the 20th anniversary of Halo. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I don't know if on this stream I've talked about it, because I might have. I mean, I've been doing this for long enough now that I probably have talked about everything that is video game related in my life. But like, I don't know, there's a chance. It's 2, 4, 6, 8. There is a chance I haven't talked about Terrigen's enormous television, which was basically what we referred to shenanigans that took place at my friend Terry's. So, let me set the scene for you, friends. It is 2003, so, obviously not the full 20 years. But it's, a couple years into the Xbox lifespan, and Halo is still a game that people play a lot of. Now, you have to remember, we didn't have, or we wasn't available to use with Xbox Live. So, if you wanted to play Halo against your friends, you had to go to where they lived. Strange, right? But true. And you could do 4-player if you wanted, and that was fine. Because you got the split screen, you could play together, and you do multiplayer, and that's fun. You can do, Slayer or Team Slayer or Capture the Flag, and you're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be fun, right? Very easy to do that. Well, my friend Terry had an enormous television. He's the first person I ever knew that had a plasma screen TV. He had a giant TV, and it was awesome to play on his giant TV. And at a certain point, it would be a couple people come over and you rotate who plays, right? You rotate, you go through. And at a certain point, we realized, like, somebody found out, because, maybe didn't know. A lot of us were, like, console gamers, but we weren't, like, we weren't PC gamers, right? Like, I had done LAN parties, but I was one of the only people that had done that. It wasn't like a big thing among these people. These were comedy folks from New York. These are people that liked each other, that were interested in hanging out. And it was, so a lot of the stuff I ended up doing in New York, because I talked about being in a guild that was mostly New York comedy folks for Warcraft. So I ended up doing a lot, and I wasn't alone in this. You end up doing a lot of things mainly because it was an opportunity to hang out with your comedy friends and not talk about comedy. Because that's what we did. Like, after shows, we would go to bars and we would talk about the shows, and we talk about the shows we were doing and the classes we were taking. And it was just like, it was fine. It was fine to do. But like, after a while, you're like, kind of cool to do something else and hang out with these people who I like and maybe like not obsess about comedy. And so it became a thing where we went to Terry's to play Halo. And then Ptolemy Slocum, who Ptolemy isn't a household name to you, but you have seen him in things. He has been in TV, generally in minor support roles. He is one of the doctors, scientists in Westworld. He's in a lab coat in Westworld. I have not seen the show. I cannot tell you more than that. But he was in The Sopranos as a supporting role. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's one of those character actors that you would like. Oh, I know that guy. If you saw his a photo of him or a screenshot of him doing something, you'd be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. So Ptolemy, he buys an Xbox so that he can get better at Halo because he's got a little competitive streak to him, right? And we find out through, the grapevine and all of that, communication, hey, you can link Xboxes together. The original Xbox, you could plug an Ethernet cable in one and run an Ethernet cable to another, and you can link them together. And, obviously college students are probably doing that, right? Like, you bring two TVs in the same room, you put your Xboxes together. Well, we could do that. Why don't we do that? So what we ended up doing, and let me just get all these pieces together, is Terry had a projector that he set up in his bedroom because he lived in a one bedroom, and he pointed at the wall. He had a white wall, so you could play on the wall in the projector. And there was Ptolemy's Xbox lived there, and then we had an Ethernet cable to another Xbox that was in the living room to his enormous television. So now we could do 4-on-4 capture the flag, and the people you were playing against were in another bedroom, so you could communicate with other people and strategize, and you wouldn't they wouldn't hear what you were doing. You could it was like having TeamSpeak, only we're in the same room, and it was so fun. Eventually, my friend Justin brought his small 19-inch television to the house so we could link a third Xbox, and then we would do two people on that because at one point we had 10 people and maybe one other person. And we'd play Halo, we'd play Slayer, and we'd play Team Slayer. We'd go through capture the flag, lots of capture the flag because it felt like the most fun. And then we would get pizza or Chinese food or Thai or something, eat, hang out, and then that was an afternoon, a Saturday afternoon. And I had a gaming group. We weren't really into shooters. None of us did shooters. We were more about we would play Mario Party, but we would play Smash Brothers, and there was a lot of fighting games. So I never really played a lot of shooters. I played Doom, and I played Wolfenstein 3D, and stuff like that, right? But Halo was my first third person. I got an Xbox to try to get better. One, because he needed controllers. So I bought an Xbox controller before I bought an Xbox because that's the kind of person I am. Where it's oh, well, probably need some more controllers. Well, I'll buy a controller and then I'll bring it and just use it. So if I get it, whatever, it's mine and then I have it. And then eventually I was all right, well, I can also buy an Xbox and try to get better at Halo. And it was really fun, and I was never good. I was pretty good at capture the flag because I was pretty dang good on a Ghost and a Warthog. I was okay on vehicles. Vehicles was a thing that I would do all right on, which is helpful to have somebody that will fly in because I was never great at sniping. But I was pretty okay at getting in, running in with a shotgun, getting a kill from someone on defense, getting out of there, trying to get the flag as close back to base as possible. Or defense, I could be okay at defense. I could sit and wait for a while and then, maybe throw a grenade and not do a terrible job. Maybe I could pull that off. But honestly, like I said, I didn't have to be good. I just had to be there and hang out. Our probably most hubris was not hubris, but I definitely abused my authority at one point, in which I knew that the theater that we lived in or lived in the theater we worked at. I had keys, and there wasn't a rehearsal scheduled one day. So I waited until a couple days before and just said hey, I'm going to do some stuff there, whatever. and then we just played on the we played on the big projector that was there, and I had various televisions there as well. And so people just brought their Xboxes, and we linked everything up. And I think we had 4 Xboxes together on a router, linked together, and it was a very fun day. And then we only did it once because I was like, I feel like we shouldn't do this again. This will probably this will get somebody furious, so let's not. Ooh, this went on the wrong side. This is supposed to go. Um, these two are right. These two go on this side. So now we can cover this up. Lastberg says, my friend always hated my sticky grenade skills in Halo 1, but for some reason it didn't translate to any of the other games. Yeah, I mean, they changed things as they went. I will say that we did try to do Hangout at Terry's. We did try to hang out and do Halo 2. We didn't have the same crew. Some people had moved on to other stuff or moved to LA or just weren't interested. But also, a couple people had kids. And hey, guess what? You can play Halo 2 online, and you don't need to go to somebody's house. So, why not? And some people were like, yeah, now I can just play all the time. And I don't have to, wait for Saturday to have, to hang out. But I changed my schedule around to make sure I would always have time to go there. It was it felt important to have that social thing. Like I said, the same thing with playing poker on Wednesday nights or being in the group that did Warcraft together. I was always looking for a good reason to hang out with people and spend time with my friends, because it was really nice. Because my old school friends, I mean, among them being Mike's older brother. I was never a good fighting game guy, so couldn't really hang with that. But I would play against the other people who were not that great, and then we would play other stuff and hang out, and then then they would switch to the fighting games that there was no way I was good at, and I just it would be my turn to lose, and I would pick silly characters because, as you may remember from my Hearthstone playstyle, if you lose by playing something silly, is that really a loss because you had a good time doing it? And that was always my strategy. So I was like, yeah. And then my friend Matt trumped me because he played a silly character and he was good at it. He was very good with Dan, who is, pretty much a joke character in all Street Fighter games. But Matt was good enough to make it work, which was frustrating. Mike says, I was terrible at Halo, always have been bad at first-person shooters. I remember some epic Mario Party and Smash Bros. Nights with the crew in high school. Yes. And then also, we're talking about all this online stuff. I remember when I left, because I went to college for a year, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, I want to go to New York. But I needed to work for a while before I went to New York. So I came back to Connecticut where my folks were still living and did that. But also I had a lot of I was working, but I didn't really have much else going on. So I spent a bunch of time at Mike's house that year that I was saving up money and working, playing a lot of Animal Crossing for the GameCube, because you could bring your memory card if you wanted people to come over. So James, Mike's older brother, worked across the street from or down the road from their house. So sometimes if I knew that James was working, I would go to where he worked to hang out at his work until he was done. And then we would sometimes, not all the time, we would go back to their place. And and play games and stuff. And that was, I owe a thanks to James that someday I'll just say, because I'm better at communicating now than I was at that point in my life. So I don't think I ever really said how much that meant to me to have that, because I shouldn't have gone to a regular school. I should have moved to New York right after high school. I didn't. Instead, I went to a traditional college that didn't have an acting program but had some good theaters. That had it had a really nice group of theaters, but they didn't have a theater major. But you you could minor in theater. So I went to minor in technical stuff while I like did communications and did that for a year, really just to take all of these technical stuff. And I wish I had just moved to New York then and gone to the acting school I would eventually go to, instead of what I did, which is go to college for a year, then leave that, move back home, and feel miserable most of the time working a job I didn't really love, and then getting a job I did love, but was, treading water until I moved to New York. James made the best food and provided all the snacks. I'm still obsessed with Animal Crossing. Totally. Yeah. So James worked at a concession stand, and I won't say any more than that, except that he worked at a concession stand, because I'm going to follow up with, and snacks were plentiful. Snacks were plentiful, and James worked at a concession stand, and I'm not going to say anything more than that, because you could use your imagination. But yeah, no, it was those were good times and necessary for my my mental well-being, because yeah, I was in a rough spot. I mean, okay, so that was the year that I ended up getting a job working at an import store, an anime import store. That's a very important, because that was I ended up working at the place that I had been visiting for years, and that's where I got all my model kits. That's where I fell in love building model kits in the late '90s. So when I was back from college and saving up, I figured out that I was like, well, I'm house painting and I hate it and I'm not good at it and I'm afraid of heights and I shouldn't be doing this. Let me see if I can get like a different job. So I ended up getting a job at Charms Animation and Gifts. Charms was with a Z. If you were wondering if it was with a Z, it was. And that was a kind of store, because this was 2000 into 2001, so you could do what I'm about to tell you, which doesn't make any sense, and you're about to go, you can't make this a store. So what did it sell? It sold Sanrio products. It sold model kits and wall scrolls and posters. It sold CDs that were in shrink wrap that didn't feel right. And then you looked at it and you saw the back cover of the CD, or the back case of the CDs, the CD jewel cases, I should say, were like clearly photocopied, and you were like, hey, have a good night, Harold. Yeah, Sin says, oh, hi, Sin. Oh, yeah, your 2002 Weeb Shop. Yes. But some kids might not know. This happened. So this was in a mall. It was a store in a mall. And the CDs were all made in China, and they were all bootlegs. They were all like copied. And eventually they sold DVDs. But really, the bread and butter of the business was VHS tapes. And you're like, yeah, it's 2000, yeah, VHS. There are DVD players out there, but people were mostly buying VHS tapes. And you're right, except these were fan subs. These were, someone would get the highest quality fan sub they could produce, and then they would make copies. So these weren't like from the fan sub group. These were like the first or second generation. Sin says that's a no-no. It totally was. The boss would go into New York to pick up all these tapes, because we were in Connecticut, and would get model kits that were legit and other things that were legit, and the CDs, would get all, like, cases of the CDs. And we could play the CDs in the store, except during the Christmas holiday, because the Christmas holiday, you gotta let the Christmas music play. So I would come into work. I would put on the Berserk soundtrack or a Sailor Moon soundtrack, whatever I was in the mood for. Hear the stuff that I wanted to hear. And then we had a couple TVs. I would put in a VHS tape on one of the TVs to just let it play, that was like pointed at the door. So when you walked by all the glass in the glass door, you would see an animation, and maybe you'd come in and buy something. And then we had a little TV on the counter that was a TV VCR combo, and that was for checking tapes, because some people wanted to make sure that it was the right tape, because, it was copies of fan subs. most of the time we didn't sell anything during the day until school let out, and then we would actually sell some stuff because people would come from after high school and all that. They would come after school and buy stuff. During the first couple hours, because you got to be open when the mall opens because it's a mall, I would mostly do inventory, clean, um, and then I would have like a few people come in that were like, the mall walkers would walk around. Um, I would often start my shift by playing something for like younger folks, or maybe like Card Captor Sakura, aka Card Captor here in the U.S. I would play that, or like kids programming because we did have some kids stuff. Um, just to like try to attract people, because people would come in and they would see all the Sanrio, and so they would like kind of come in and browse. And there was one lady that would come in, and she would buy Card Captor Sakura because her daughter had found out that the US version had skipped a bunch of episodes. Basically, um, the folks, the great decision with Card Captor was, let's call it Card Captor, take Sakura out of it, and let's chop up the episodes enough to get to the point where the boy shows up, because we don't think we can sell this to girls, but we need like a dude there, which is just like completely misunderstanding the point of the show, and just like not getting it. But that was the reality of that. Uh, So there was like one lady that would come in. Remember walking around the mall? Yeah, Lashbrook. I mean, there were every day I would see the same people walking around, and some of them would come in. Um, Now, eventually, did I just start watching anime in the store, waiting for customers to arrive? You bet your ass I did. Like I said, the first like 2 to 3 hours, we were only open because the mall made you be open. If the mall was open, your store was open. So I would do all my work and get ready for inventory. We had a computer to do inventory and to do sales, and I figured out that I could that there was AOL on it. So I was able to use the phone line to dial up, in this is the year 2000, to dial up to AOL to check my email and send messages here and there. So I would do that because I still had AOL in the year 2000, because I had it. I never got rid of it in college, so I had it when I was back. I got rid of it pretty fast, but that was a way for me to go and check my email, and I was thrilled to have the opportunity. Um, so yeah, so I worked in the mall, and it was fine. It was a fine time. Um, but yeah, eventually, bootleg DVDs started coming out. You might remember these if you're an age similar to mine. Not all of you are as old as I am, but some of you are around my age. You may remember that you could fit like 10 episodes of an anime on a DVD. Was the quality good? Of course not. Was the subtitles good? No, it was clearly done with like Babelfish. Um, but it was readable. I remember they would translate Yugi's name to game, because yeah, and Yami would get translated to dark. So it would be like, dark, dark game, what's going on? And you're like, what? And so I had to like, oh, they're just literally translating people's names. So okay, they don't know to do this. The people that are doing this don't know what they're doing. Some of those Hong Kong specials had real good box art, though. Totally. They would have fan art on them because people didn't know. They were just looking for the highest res photos they could get. So sometimes they were getting very good fan art that had been scanned out of Dojin. Oh, wait, I get the whole series of Gantz on 3 DVDs? Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how I eventually bought the DVD box set fan subs of G Gundam, because there was one episode of G Gundam that wasn't aired in the US, and I wanted to watch it. It's a fan service episode. It's not good. But also I wanted to watch it subtitled because I had only seen the dub. So that was kind of fun to get that. I bought that, years later. So I did this for quite some time, and I worked there for like a year and change. But yeah, watched a lot of anime, sold a lot of anime to people. Eventually, they hired me to do some part of my job became, well, you have all this time. Why don't you build some model kits for display? And so I would build model kits to do on display. If something was exciting, I would, say, hey, let's do this. Um, did I take VHS tapes home if I was going to work a day and open, if I was closing one day and opening the next day? Did I take VHS tapes home to watch them and then bring them back? Yes, I did. Did I take DVDs home to have them overnight play in my DVD player that was hooked up to a TV with the VCR so I could record the DVD onto VHS tape? Yes, I also did that. Uh, did it? Yeah, like of course I did. I borrowed a lot from that store because it was convenient and easy, and there would be times where I was like, we had just had a delivery, so I knew I'd be the only person in the store for like 3 days in the week because they would have more people on the weekends because they would make a lot of money on the weekends, right? Like you get a lot of people who are like, I'm going to drive out of my way to go there because you could go to our store, or you could go to, you could drive way out of your way to New London, Connecticut, which is inconvenient to get to for just about everybody. You could go there and you go to comic book shops and get some of your anime there. But yeah, I did that for really, for a year and change. Eventually, we moved locations to a storefront, which was the beginning of the end of me working there because it was not as busy. And then they were like, why are we paying you this so much? But that time, in that period, I watched a whole lot of anime because I suddenly, because they were like, oh, we'll be in a storefront, so we don't have to open really early. Like, we would open at 8 a.m. during like Christmas week because the store had nonsense hours. Because this is so tall. I'm going to put this here as I continue working on this tray. Yeah, we would have nonsense hours because the mall would be open. So you got to be open when the mall's open. And I was just like, no one's going to come and buy anime at 9 in the morning on the week of Christmas. Oh, used to get paid to build model kits, so things haven't changed. The T, you're not wrong. Hi, the T. You're not wrong. Part of my job was help on the clock. It was just like something for me to do in the store. And I would, I would the best part of the job was recommending stuff, right? Because people would come in and they would go, and that was also my justification for watching a lot of stuff, sometimes in the store, sometimes on my own time, was I wanted to be able to tell people, like, oh, if you like this, you like that. Because, people would come in, they would buy Dragon Ball Z, because you could buy the VHS tapes and be ahead of the TV show. So people would come in and do that, and like that made sense. You want to do that. You want to come in and get your VHS tapes and all that. So like totally understood that. But they were like, what else should I watch? I like this and I like this, and you would like, I would know. I'd be able to say, okay, you want to check these shows out. This isn't something you would be interested in, and like, yeah, I was able to kind of recommend stuff based on my own tastes and also like what I knew of series. So I watched a lot of different shows, which exposed me to a lot of shows because, I felt like I was able to provide a service. Also, that's how I got the job, is I was there shopping, and the employee there, who was one of the managers, asked me a question about a show because she knew that I knew about it, and I answered it as best I could, and then we were chatting about another thing, and I was like, hey, do you have job applications? And she was like, oh, yeah, you want to work here? Please. And I was like, yeah, I know what's up. I knew what was going on. All right, I got to put this I had this the wrong way. It's got to go here. All right, so we're building this big tree tower. But yeah, that was one of my, it was a bad period in my life because I was stuck and felt weird. Now, considering that I've lived here in South Carolina with my folks for almost a year, it's kind of funny to think about how I was so depressed that I had gone out to go to college and was back home in a job that didn't have any room for advancement, and I didn't know what I was going to keep doing. Uh, Woolgar the Old is following. Thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome, welcome to the old Bill with Bear workshop. Working on a big Lego tree. We already built the house and the upside down version of the house. Now we're building the tree and the upside down version of the tree, and then we're going to build another one, and then we're going to be able to connect everything together, and it's going to be cool. Right now I got to do this. Yeah, I remember feeling very like out of place and lost because I had like didn't know what I was going to be doing, and I was back in Connecticut. You know, my other friends were going off to college, and I was back, and yeah, just felt discombobulated. Uh, because like I knew I wanted to go to New York, I knew I wanted to study acting, I knew I wanted to get into comedy stuff, but I was like, I don't know how to do any of that. And luckily, I got into the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which was, you know, the good reason for me to go to New York and to uh, try to make it and do the comedy thing, which I was very grateful to have the opportunity to do. And then I left the American Academy, did not complete American Academy, and just got into, you know, Upright Citizens Brigade and did a lot of comedy stuff there. While I was in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, I had the opportunity. A friend of mine was taking a sketch class and convinced me to start going to see some improv there, and fell in love with improv. I had done some short form, but this was the first time that I was really doing. And decided, okay, I'm gonna. When American Academy ended, my lease was up, so I went back to New York, or I went back to Connecticut for 3 months. Worked for my dad for 3 months. Didn't do anything except work, and that was it. Just worked and hung out, and then moved back to New York. Went to UCB shows, got jobs at various jobs that were whatever to pay the bills, and then eventually ended up working at UCB years later, where I would be for a very long time. But yeah, it was like if I had been in high school, working at Charms Animation and Gifts would have been an incredible job. But since I was coming back, I was feeling very burned out and very sad about my life, and so it wasn't a great job. But yeah, that was a rough time. I didn't understand that I was going through stuff. Also, there was while I lived there, my house caught on fire, like the attached garage caught on fire, and my bedroom was like, so if the garage is here, my bedroom is here, like up on the second floor, like right next to it. So when it burned down, the garage burned down, and then lots of the house caught fire as well, and it got put out. No one was hurt. Everything was okay. But I, like, all my stuff was gone. And then we ended up living at my uncle's house while our house got renovated because it had to be completely gutted. And so that was a bad time to call out to work because I was, like, I had to wait at home because my dad didn't have a cell phone. So I had to wait for him to, like, come home from work. So I had to call out. I was like, hey, my house caught on fire. Everyone's okay, but I'm not coming into work today. It was traumatizing. The T says, I think as a kid, seeing Clerks always made me want to have a job like your job at the anime store where I was the only person in the store most of the day. So, like, as I said, parts of that job were great. And if I had been in a different headspace, I would have enjoyed it much more. Because later in my life, I've had time in my life where I've had jobs where I'm very grateful that I don't have to care about them. It's tough because I care too much about everything. That's just me, and believe me, I try to squelch that, especially when if it's a job that clearly does not care about me. It is very hard for me to be like, well, I'm still going to do a great job. And that's rough. But yeah, it was kind of fun to like work at a place and just be like, yeah, no one's going to come in for a while, and maybe there'll be a few people, and I can kind of veg out and do other stuff. But I really also wanted to distract myself from my feelings that I was going through at the time. So I was like, yeah, I don't like this. I needed something stimulating. I needed something that was going to like really piqued my interest. And that was not that job. That job was started off really great, and then as it went on, I was just getting more and more bored and frustrated. I really needed a change. This might be the tallest thing we've ever built on stream because I'm getting real close to the camera. What's up, camera? I'm getting real close to you. I'm like almost above my light. My light is like right over here. This is tall. We're done though. Now we have to do the whole tree again, but we're going to do it the other way, and we don't see the wanted posters or the missing posters. Again, I keep calling the wanted posters. But we're going to do this basically exactly the same. And you, like I said, you can flip it, and it'll stand up the other way too. So yeah, so that's the tree. The contrasted lighting on the tree is really stark. Yes, it definitely from the where the overhead is going, but also the colors that are chosen. You get this bright into dark. It's very dramatic. I would say. I wish I could be happy with the movie theater jobs swooping up popcorn. But instead, I did a filming gig and nope the fuck out there being the audio tech assistant for the high school. Yeah. The bottom neat. I'm wondering how the whole thing was going to stand up when it's done. Yeah. Seeing the bottom of the tree gives me an idea. Yeah. So it goes like this, and you'll see the other side as well. And if you're looking at the top of it, you go, oh, that's clearly so that it can do this and go the other way. And do you probably want to have it be upside down and the way it's in the photo? Yeah, probably. But you can do it the other way, which I really like as well. All right, let's try to build this whole thing, and I'm going to try to do it a little quicker because I really do want to finish this kit tonight, and we've got the time to do it, so I think we can. We have to go all the way back to the beginning. We could have built this at the same time, but we didn't because I was building it before I realized, oh, they do want you to do two of these at the same time. Maybe. They didn't say at the beginning. They said it at the end. So, yeah. So, let's build this. But, yeah. That was my time at Charms Animation and Gifts. Worked at 2 of the locations. It was fun. It was fine. Also, I guess I should say, I did work at the mall, and I was the only employee. So, they allowed me to close the store for enough time for me to go up to the food court to get lunch because I didn't bring my lunch with me. We did have a microwave, but I wasn't doing meal prep at the time. Didn't think about doing it. Should have saved some money. So I would go and buy stuff. I would get a discount because I was a mall employee. So I would get a discount over and get mostly I would get like boneless spare rib combinations at Panda Express, and there was a McDonald's at one of the malls, and so I would get a discount there. And go and buy my lunch, and then rush back, and then try to eat my lunch with the store being open and having to pause. So I would often end up using the microwave to just reheat what I had bought because inevitably somebody would either be waiting when I got back or they would be come in just as I reopened the doors, like they were somewhere else waiting for me to come back in. Especially at mall food prices. Yeah, I would just get whatever. I should have been making food at home, but I was not in the mindset for that. As I said, oh wait, I'm jumping ahead. I made this piece. We don't even need this piece yet. I got to go all the way back. I don't know why I thought. There we go. We're going all the way back. Really jumped the gun there. But yeah, let's get this going. Yeah, so yeah, I ate a lot of mall food, and it was totally great, and I don't regret eating the mall food at all. That was one of the best parts because the hot food was just good for the soul at that point. Because I was in a bad spot, as I said. But yeah. Japanese place would make the chicken teriyaki with noodles. By far my favorite mall meal. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I would definitely get a lot of chicken teriyaki. That was a staple in tempura stuff. Just whatever you can. Just get whatever is hot and feels good to eat, and then just go back to whatever job I was doing. It was also nice because like I wanted to make sales and help people, but I also pretty quickly stopped caring about that job because I was depressed without realizing that I was depressed. Um, so that was a nice balance of like, okay, let me help this person, let me make sure they're getting exactly what they need, and then also no one came in today and I don't feel bad and I tried hard to sell some stuff and somebody was just clearly browsing and there's a guy here that isn't interested in buying anything. He is just interested in talking to someone that knows anything about anything that he likes. The GameStop situation where like there are people that just come to your store to talk to you about video games because you know video games and so they want to come and talk to me about anime because I watch anime. And so they're just like, let's talk about this thing. Let's talk about that thing. Have you watched this? Have you watched that? Uh, there was a guy that was like, you should come to my anime club. Uh, and as someone, there was no anime club at the college I went to. So that year I didn't have an anime club. And I was kind of starved for friends. And I ended up going to this anime club. And I'm really glad I went. And I'm really glad I never invited anyone that I knew outside of it to ever come because I wouldn't have. It wouldn't have been good. It was. How do I describe that anime club? It was sad, and like you know me, I'm the next hour after the pause for the cause. I'm going to talk about the anime that I'm watching. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite shows that I'm watching this season. Probably my favorite show of the year is out, and I'm going to like gush about it. I'm going to talk about my passions. You know this. So when I say that this was sad, this club was sad, you have to understand that it was. It was at a guy's house. Uh, that reminds me of when I went to the board game meetup on meetup.com. There you go. It was at a guy's house. He lived next door to the warplace that he owned and worked at. He worked at a like a hobby shop, like lots of Warhammer stuff, lots of D&D stuff, some model kit stuff, some other like non anime related model kit stuff. So Gunpla, but also like whatever. Meetup.com still exists? Yeah, I guess it would in this day and age, but yeah. So he invited me like, hey, come to my house. These are, come meet these people. And so I went to like his store and hung out in the store to decide if I was going to go next door to this guy's house. A guy that like was a customer of mine, but I didn't really know. I just knew of him as a customer. So I was going to like, get the vibe. I wanted to see who arrived because everyone would come into the store first. And, it wasn't required to make purchases, but a lot of people would make purchases because there were things they wanted and the guy had and guy would special order stuff. So people would come by and like, be like, oh, I'm looking for this show and, whatever. Or sometimes they were looking for shows. Sometimes they were just looking for model kits or whatever. And it was like fine. Everything was fine. Um, he was kind of a weird dude. Later, I would feel very uncomfortable because he was divorced and his kids would come over. And so sometimes his kids would come over when we had our anime meetup. And so we would watch kids anime. And none of us were really into that at the time. I mean, I have some appreciation for some children's animation now, but certainly didn't have it then. And it was awkward and weird. Yeah, it was a strange time. Because we were in this guy's living room, like watching stuff that people brought, and some of the people in the group were like heavily in the fan sub scene, and so like we would get stuff like really good copies of things, and also there were like a couple people that were like, yeah, I've bought laser discs for fan groups so that they will make the thing that I want them to do, and like it costs a lot of money, but that's how you see the shows that you want to see, and like it was weird. The whole thing was weird and awkward, and I didn't do it for that long. As I said, it was just like it was a sad group of guys because it was all gentlemen. There were no ladies. The lady was one of his daughters, or one of his kids was his daughter. That was that was that. It was yeah, it was a weird time, and it was a good experience for me because I was like, oh, I never had like a an anime club experience. I was like, this is like just like good for me to like get a sense of this is like how this part of it works when you're just like, because I've had that, like friends who are friends because of a shared interest, but that's it, and it wouldn't be friends because you're like, just like associated friends. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what this is. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't necessarily love these folks, but all right. Uh, it'd be a strange thing because I would get a phone call when I was in New York that somebody that gentleman passed, uh, whose name I can't remember, and I used to feel bad about that. But this is literally a 3 month period, and the guy that called me to let me know that guy passed, I also don't remember his name. But he was another guy in the group, and I don't remember how he got my phone number. I must have given it to him. Um, Also, when he called me to let me know that that gentleman had passed, he also wanted to know if I would be interested in purchasing the guy's hobby shop, which I didn't do because I was doing comedy in New York. But what if I had? What if I had moved back to New York or to Connecticut and scrounged up some sort of income, some money to in order to buy a hobby shop? As a 20-something-year-old, like probably 23-year-old. I assume he was asking everyone he called because somebody was trying to to get somebody to buy that. I don't think it was made. I don't think the offer was made to me because I would have been particularly great at it. Although, probably would be doing terribly, but that'd be amazing. Yeah, I mean, like it would have been a weird shop. Like it was a weird shop with weird customers, and like I certainly wouldn't have known what I was doing as far as like owning a business. Also, like who would have given me a loan to like be able to inherit that place? That wasn't going to happen. All right, so I did something wrong here, and I remember I did something wrong with this the last time I built this. So now we'll see if I can figure out what I did wrong here. So we do, this is a 1x6. We put that there. We do a long one here, right? And then we do a long one underneath it. And then when we do that, we should have 5 pegs, right? Yes. So we have 5 pegs here. And then when we put this there, it's not right. We need 6 pegs. But we don't need that because I'm not supposed to do it like this. That's right. It goes like this, and it works fine. There you go. I always wanted to do as a kid, be an arcade owner. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I probably would have had arcade machines, and I would have had, like, local comics stuff, and I would have done, like, indie comics, I'm sure. Would have tried to do game board nights, because there was room for that. Hobby shop stuff. Like, I would have done, stuff in the store. I would have done, like, I would have tried to do an anime club in the store and just to, like, get people in to come hang out. Like, also, I would have thrown out a lot of old shit that no one would wanted, and also sell things on eBay because at the time, here's the thing I don't know if I've talked about. Remember, a young kid like 12, I went to Star Wars CCG tournament in a comic shop. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the rage. Okay, so here's one thing I can tell you about living in New York and trying to figure stuff out. So I'm gonna have to sneeze at some point. I can feel it. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but it might. So letting everybody know. I got last place and won some boosters for being in last. Hell yeah. Okay, so here's what happened with me. I went to I needed money, right? I was living in New York. I had a bunch of, crappy contract gigs. I did a lot of flyering. I did, I was auditioning for a few things here and there, but nothing really major. I was taking classes. I was trying to just work whatever jobs I could. I was trying to and failing to get in with a temp agency because temp agencies were in high demand at the time. And so I was just trying my best to like get an interview at a temp agency to get work, and that was like very competitive, and I was failing at that. So eventually, I uh, I was selling some stuff that I had on eBay. Now at this time, eBay, PayPal was a thing. You could do money orders. People did a lot of money orders, certainly, but you could do PayPal, and um, they had just started doing a thing where you had to pay to put stuff up, but if it didn't sell, you didn't have to. You could put it up again and not get charged. They weren't doing the percentage yet. They were just doing like the processing fees if it sold. So it was still a good time to be on eBay. So this is what happened. KB Toy Store went out of business, was going out of business, and I bought every action figure I could find at KB Toy Store. I just went and bought everything. If it was, especially if it was an anime or if it was a video game thing, anything I could get at KB that was like deep discount, especially stuff that was Japanese in origin. I would get that all, buy whatever I could, and then sell it to people mostly in the Midwest who didn't have access to the stuff. So like if an like the Todd McFarlane line did Trigon action figures. There's just, you couldn't find those in the Midwest. So people that really wanted it were buying it on, they wanted their Vash the Stampede, and they would buy it and pay really good money. But also because I had bought it because they were going out of business and liquidating, I was buying stuff really cheap. And that I had a really good eBay business because I was in New York and I was underemployed, and I could get to the post office anytime. And so I would mail stuff out, and that worked out really well for me. I did a pretty good business with that. And then also I would go to comic shops and look for stuff on discount, look for stuff on sale that was just going to be like I thought I could turn a profit on. And sometimes the profits were very small, and sometimes the profits were like real good. And I just like did really well. So sometimes I would do super well with that. And I did that for a long time, and then eventually I would go down to Chinatown and look for stuff, and just look for things that I thought I could get a good deal on. And sometimes I would take stuff down, and then eventually that all dried up because a lot of people got into eBay, and then also they started charging for people to be able to you would have to pay a percentage of what you made, and then sometimes the deals just weren't there, and you would just not make any money for a week, and I didn't have the capital to keep it going. That's the real thing. And like I said, I kind of ran out of product that made sense to try to do. But that was a good little business that kept me afloat for a while there while I was looking for other stuff. Because I never wanted to buy stuff on eBay to flip it. Try to get something low and do all that, because you had to wait a while and maybe it was never going to be good. So I never got into that portion of it, because I always wanted to have let me buy this thing, let me sell this, let me put the money back into buying things, or a percentage of the money back into buying things, and then get more stuff that I need and just build up from there. And eventually it worked out okay, but I was always a little nervous about that. We'll take a pause for the cause in a moment or two. I'll talk about ways you can support the channel and all of that. Let me get a little bit more done here. A little bit more to do with this. Building our tree again. This kit has been fantastic, but I'm also excited about closing the chapter on this and moving on to the next thing, because it's just been a big, fantastic build. But yeah, it is. I am looking forward to closing the book on it, building some model kits, getting back into the model kit game. But yeah, an ambitious Lego set. It'll be a while. Like I said, I have a Lego set in my backlog, but another thing, a smaller thing. But I'm like, that's gonna take a back seat. I'm gonna wait on that. But we hadn't really done Lego in a while, so it's nice to do that. All right, let's take a break here. Momentarily break as we talk about stuff that we're doing and we're into. So if you are Currently a subscriber to the Bill with Bear. Let's throw the Bear Cave Lego scythe emote in the chat. Let the people know you're a subscriber, that you are here. You can throw an emotes in. If you're a tier 2 subscriber, you get the scythe emote. You can do that. If you're new here, this is a pause for the cause. This is my opportunity to take a couple minutes to talk to you about things that I'm excited about. And ways you can support the channel. You're in no obligation to do so. Becoming a subscriber is a great way to support me using your Twitch Prime gaming token. If you have Amazon Prime link with your Twitch, you get that token. You can use that once a month. You can also use Cash Money. If you've been gifted a sub in the past, or right now you're on a gifted sub, you can convert that to a regular sub, and they won't charge you until your gifted month is over. Or you can also gift a sub to somebody. We've had Fuzzy T, and Aristophan, and Air all gift subs this month. Gifting a sub to somebody in the community is a great way to support both me and also allow people to get some emotes and not see ads when my stream starts, which is nice. Again, all of this will be in the show description of my YouTube channel. If you're watching later on YouTube, I have a Patreon. You could join my Patreon. That is the thing you could do. You're no obligation to do that, of course, but you're more than welcome to jump in on the old Patreon at patreon.com/PatBear. $1, $3, $5, and $10 tiers. Different rewards at each tier. I mentioned that I have a YouTube, youtube.com/PatBear. You can subscribe there for free. I would love it if you did. You can also join there for $2 a month. I have memberships. And you get a video a week or 1 day early. So that is the thing you could do. So every Tuesday you get my Wednesday video, before everyone else. And that is the small thing that I can say thank you. And it's just another way. Eventually, I have hit the $100 threshold. At the end of May, they will process that, and I will get a check or a deposit. I know it's a direct deposit from Google, and I will use that $100 and something to buy model kits to keep the business going. Because everything I make through Twitch, through Patreon, through YouTube goes back into buying kits and equipment. Also, you can do a direct donation. If you just want to do a one-time thing, a tip, you could do that. You're in no obligation to do any of those things. Just watching is more than enough. But if you'd like to support me, you're more welcome to do that. Various tipping methods. And then what else do I want to say? I have an Amazon wish list, and you could buy something on my wish list, and then I'll build it on stream. And we'll take a quick look at the wish list here, my Amazon wish list. I'll also shoot a video about what you bought and put that up real early before I even build it, and be like, hey, look what came in the mail. Someone bought this from my wish list. I've got Lego sets, high grades, master grade. There's a Zoid in there. Zoids are back. If you want to see me build a Zoid, I can do that. Some of it has Amazon Prime shipping, some of it doesn't. Some of it's coming from Japan, some of it's here in the United States. It's all stuff I would like to build, and I'd be happy to build if you made the purchase. It will come to me, and I will, as I said, shoot a video and then talk about the cool thing that you built or you bought, and talk about on stream. And then I got a couple pieces of equipment on the bottom there because it's nice to have a few things for people that are like, I don't know what to buy. And if you're saying, oh, Pat, I don't know what to buy, you could buy me a gift card. USA Gundam Store is a place where you could, if you wanted to, buy a gift card. They send you a code in your email, and then you have a gift card code. And then you send me a DM on Twitter, because my DMs are open. And you say, hey, Pat, here's a gift card code, and I'll use that. And you're going to be like, you should pre-order this, or you should buy this thing. Or, I don't know, I saw this thing on sale. That looked cool. What if you got that? You could, do that if you want to. Those are ways to support me financially for free. You could join my Discord. USA Gundam Store is a cool place. You get cool stickers. You do, Sin. USA Gundam Store is, because they are based in Florida, they are the place that I pre-order things. If I'm going to do a pre-order, I used to use Gundam Planet because they were in New Jersey and I lived in New York. Now that I live in South Carolina, I use USA Gundam Store. Also, they often have discounts on their pre-orders, and that it's not a lot, but it's enough. You can join my Discord. That's free. If you want to join my Discord, you're more than welcome to. We'll get back to building in just a minute, but I do want to get through this real quick. Discord's chill and cool. Join that. Pat Bear's Anime Club that I put out on Monday. You could watch that. I try to answer the question, what's the best isekai? Which is, an anime subgenre. I try to answer that question. I think I do an okay job. You could watch this video that I put out on Wednesday. Now, Bear With Me is usually me reacting to videos, but I'm trying to broaden what Bear With Me can be. So I did my first ever product review. I bought this device that is meant for model kits, like storing the spruces of model kits, and it's supposed to make things easier. It doesn't. It's not a good product. I don't recommend it. And so I talked about it in that video. Spoiler, I didn't like it. So you can watch that. Bear with me. All right, I'm going to talk about some anime. We're going to get back into this. We're going to finish this tree. Will we go over tonight? If we have to. If we have to, we're going to go over tonight, folks. We might go past 11, but I'm going to finish this thing because I really, really want to. So let's go back to the overhead because this has been a long time coming, and we're so close that we're going to... I'm going to talk about some anime while I continue to work on this because I watched some shows, and I want to talk to you about those shows. Okay, so Slime Diaries. What's Slime Diaries, you might be wondering? Well, it is the companion anime to That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, which is currently, last season was the first half of the second season, the last anime season, beginning of the year, and then coming up after this will be the second half. And in between, they put out Slime Diaries, which is a side story anime with the characters. It is set during season 1, and it is just like a kind of chill slice of life. They're all cute looking. Wait for the characters to kind of interact with each other. This one was a little poignant, a little sad, because we had Shizu, who is a character that we were introduced to and died in the show. And so her spirit shows up because Rimuru is going to be putting on a Bon Festival, which is a thing in Japan. It is a celebration of family and ancestors. It's where a lot of times Japanese families will go to a shrine or a grave site and clean the graves and have a picnic, sometimes at cemetery or nearby, and kind of reminisce about their ancestors and their family. And because Shizu was also Japanese, Rimuru wants to do this. And he also wants the races that are there to talk about their history. And then for the races to come together, the different, the orcs and the ogres and the timberwolves and all the other, the humans that are there, everyone to kind of come together and talk about and their shared history together, which is like a nice sentiment. It's a nice little thing. Also, there's a beautiful touch that I wish was in the regular show. There is I'll call it a doggy door. There is a little door next to the big door that swings open so that Rimuru in slime form can roll into an office, like Benimaru's office. And I love that so much, and I wish it was in the real show because it's just great. So people are reminiscing. We get to hear about Benimaru and Shuna's father, which is kind of fun. The former leader of the ogres turned kaijin, and that's cute. That's nice. The other members of Shizu's party all have the same dream about her and say a prayer. And then we get to see Kaiman, the evil Kaiman, for the first time, the guy that is the main antagonist of the show. And of course, they've done this before, where there's like, ooh, something dark and sinister is happening. Oh, look at this, something is going on here. But he's just plotting making homemade scones for the other demon lords for the upcoming Demon Lord Summit. So that's all he's doing. So it's just like what's he? Oh, he's making scones. Okay. Soka and her dad kind of catch up, and part of that is the fact she's been turning down a lot of marriage offers because she's got her eyes set on somebody, but it's not a lizard man that wants to marry her, which is cute. And then Rimuru pays respects to Shizu during the Bon Festival, and she hugs him, and he kind of hears her, and it's like a nice little moment. I don't know. It was more poignant than the show has this little gag thing has been. So that was nice. I enjoyed that. Did I put this on upside down? I did. This is supposed to be the other way. Or no, is it not? This goes here. Goes here. goes. There it is. Didn't want to go in, but then it did. So that's that. If you liked the first season of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, I highly recommend this. I think it is very fun, and I think you will enjoy it. Especially if you didn't necessarily love the first half of season 2, because maybe you felt like, this is just dark for dark's sake, and it's gone from being like a weird isekai to just like another isekai. I still like it, but I do think that it's lost some of its fun. So yeah, maybe this is more up your speed. Another different kind of isekai you might be interested in is the Saint's magic power is omnipotent, which is it's a throwback. I've talked about this before. This is a throwback isekai in that it is a different world anime, but that different world is just an excuse to have very attractive men all interested in our main character, who was always like a nice person, but is now a magical person and therefore has admirers. And Sai, our main character, who was summoned to this world along with another girl, and then the prince decided the other girl was the saint, and then she was kind of just like tossed aside. Well, everyone's starting to realize, no, this girl has like incredible powers, and she's definitely actually the saint. So let's see. So we meet Druze. He is the we've met him before. He's the magus. He is considered the most powerful spellcaster in the land. He's the guy that summoned both these girls. And so Sai wants to learn magic because she just doesn't know like basic incantations. She just knows she has like natural ability. She's like, what's going on with me? And he's like, I'm going to teach you. Because then also he can keep an eye on her and like kind of judge how she's coming along, because there are many people that are like, well, how powerful is she? Because she only does healing magic. So they're like, well, see what's up. He's really easy to read because he's definitely interested in like experimenting, and he's like definitely doesn't seem like the nicest person. And she can really read him. Like she's so oblivious about like the dudes that are into her, and how like she knows that like one guy likes her, but didn't realize that other dudes also like her, including maybe the guy Hawk's brother might also be into her. Like she just doesn't pick that up, but she can tell like, all right, this guy is definitely worrisome. Also, a thing I love so much is she gets some practical experience. She gets to spend some time with Hawk, who is basically making his interest known, which I like that he's fucking going for it. He is making moves. He is like trying to get things done. I appreciate that in a romance anime. One of the things I really like about this is, so she also has what she calls lady days, which I think is a great descriptor for what is basically she's got like etiquette classes and dance lessons, because she's gonna be a proper woman of the court, so she needs to like do all this shit that she clearly doesn't want to do, but like knows she can't say no and gotta do it. Hawk shows up to one of her dance things and says, "Oh, I'll help out," which is very smooth of him. And he's like, "Hey, I know you're gonna have to go to some of these events. If you want me as your escort, I want this to be like a date. Like, ask me to come to this thing." Which is like, yeah, he's moving forward. This is the guy who was like known as the Ice Knight because, well, one, he uses ice magic, so he's called the Ice Knight for that. But mostly, he's called the Ice Knight because he was a pretty cold dude. But he has definitely changed, which, like, oh boy, that's good stuff. And then she's invited to a tea party, which is like just supposed to be for practice, by her friend Liz, who she met at the library. And like Liz apparently knew right away, because she's the daughter of like an important person, and she was like, "Yeah, I've known you were the saint. Like it got described, and then I saw you, and we're like, oh yeah, this girl's the saint. And sorry I didn't tell you I knew." But also, fucking drama, y'all. Drama is here because Liz, she is engaged to marry Prince Kyle, the dude that decided the other girl was the saint, and who like has it in for, like is definitely like just like not feeling it. And it's a bad scene. It could end up being some drama because like maybe they're not close, but Kyle at some point is going to find out that his fiance is friends with Sai, and it's going to lead to trouble. So maybe we'll hear more of that. Uh, this hurts my head. Asks, did you ever watch Interviews with Monster Girls? I thought it was a pretty good time. Yeah, I liked Interviews with Monster Girls. It came at the time when I was kind of coming back into anime and watching a lot of like slice of life, kind of like weird shows. I think all the girls in it are great. I think uh I would say like it's fun. I don't think the 13th episode is good. The 13th episode is the OVA, but they call it on Crunchyroll episode 13, but it's clearly an OVA because like it's a little weird. Like I think that episode isn't great, but the first 12 I think are totally cool. Um I will say looking back on it, I would have loved it if the succubus character didn't consider Maki a love rival and instead was like, hey, don't have a crush on your teacher. It's weird. Uh, like, I think Maki is great. I think having a Dullahan or a headless person is such an interesting choice for that show. I think that's so cool, and she is my favorite character in the show. Because like, but yeah, I think that looking back, like that's a little weird. Like there's some stuff in it that I'm like, I don't love that part, but I think the characters are really cool and how the characters interact with one another I think is very fun. I love that it is completely unexplained how one daughter is a vampire and the other daughter is not a vampire. Uh, and like that's weird and great. But yeah, I think that show is pretty cool. Uh, even if, yeah, I said episode 13, not a big fan of it. It was an OVA. It has some fun stuff of like the succubus teacher is dressed as a mascot, but other than that, there's the ghost girl, and it gets awkward in a way that like that show wasn't awkward. So yeah, but yeah, I think that show is pretty good. Um, Another show that came out around that time is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and we're getting season 2 of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid coming up real soon. So before that, we're getting a little mini show. It's only a couple it's like 2-minute episodes called Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S short animation series. Yes, because the second season is going to be called Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S. So this is the short series that is like whetting your appetite for the anime. What happens in this? This episode, you got Fafnir. He is the male dragon who is living there. He was a loner, but he has a friend now, and he got introduced to the world of games, including online gaming. And this episode, I talked about going to an anime club. This is kind of the similar vibe. A male dragon. He delivers male. Yes, indeed. Well, he's the only. Everyone else is female. He's the male dragon. He goes to meet for the first time ever the other members of his MMO guild in person, and they are not anything like the characters' avatars, which he finds very weird. But they immediately are like, "Oh, you're definitely this character." Like, "Oh, that makes sense." And he's like a little mad. He's like, "Humans are not to be trusted," and they're like, "What?" And it's cute. It's just a short little thing, and I liked it. The Devil's Part-Timer is getting a second season after the Devil's Part-Timer is getting a sixth season after like 5 years. Yeah. Yeah, that was surprising. Like, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord has a new season this year, right? Like, the last season wasn't that long ago. RF Huerta is getting a second season, and it wasn't that long ago. I'm Standing on a Million Lives is getting a second season that got announced during the first season, which was very surprising because I don't think that show's good. I think it's kind of interesting. It goes for a thing that I think it does well, but the thing it does well is a completely psychotic, unlikable main character that I'm like, well, I don't know. You're doing a great job of having an unlikable lead, but I don't want to watch that. So yeah, that was surprising they were getting a sixth season already. But yeah, Devil's Part-Timer, that was quite the surprise to hear they were going to get. We're going to get more of that. Okay, the last show I want to talk about right now is I think a show that is very good and you might like to check out. It's the best show this season by far, my favorite show this season, and it is called Super Cub. So the caveats for Super Cub is it is slow, chill slice of life that focuses on a young lady named Koguma, who the first episode she's like, I don't have any parents, I don't have any friends, I don't have any money. She ends up using some of the money she does have to buy a used and in not necessarily the best condition Super Cub, which is by Honda. It is a little. It is classified as a motorcycle. It is basically a scooter, and she made a friend with another girl that has a cub. She's been riding. She's like been able to get some independence. She can like now like go to the grocery store when she needs to go after school instead of like waiting until Saturday or Sunday. She can get things that she needs. She doesn't have to bike to school anymore and she feels like some independence. She's like the world is opening up to her. It's a story about a girl up until recently I got to say it's pretty good. Seems like fun. Yeah. I mean it's a good ad for like yeah, Lastbrook. It does feel like it's a good ad for a Super Cub. Like certainly. But yeah, her independence has changed. Her like outlook, she's dreaming of things. She's smiling. The first couple episodes when she gets on her bike, the music that plays is this like very patient, very cute piano. It's really light and airy piano that plays. Just kind of like give you like pleasant vibes. Last episode that changed because we focused to Raiko, who is a girl that is very knowledgeable about cubs. She has a postal cub, and her music was like background music for like a RPG because she's just got like a different vibe to her. Okay, so Koguma got her motorcycle license. That happened between episodes. We didn't see that. So she can like travel farther distances, and she's got modifications made to her cub so that she can go faster. And all of that is very important because there's a school trip happening, and she wakes up feeling sick. She's saved up some money because for the exact purpose of getting some like local seafood on this trip. But she wakes up and she's got a fever, so she says, "I can't come." And then she wakes up like an hour later, and her fever is gone, and she's like, "I guess I'm gonna ride my cub there." Which is not a great she's never really driven this far. And when she goes, the music changes. The music is now a little different. It's livelier. There's more instruments. It's still jazzy, but it's like, you know, her world has opened up, and now the music is better. I gotta say, this bike is turning our gal into a delinquent. She was always a delinquent. She just didn't have opportunity. Here's the thing. She's not just going with the flow. She's taking risks and she's doing things that she wants to do. And it's kind of incredible. And I love it. It's not just now I have a cub and I can ride my thing to school. Now she's like, I got a job over the summer because of my cub. And I can go to this thing that I want to go. This is her big adventure. As I said, the music's more lively. She goes up some of the roads to Mount Fuji like her friend did, but like doesn't get nearly as far, but makes it pretty well and gets a nice view for it. She stops by the beach, and she literally pulls into the inn, like she times it so the itinerary, she pulls in just as the bus arrives, and everyone's like, wait, what? And of course, teachers are mad because she shouldn't have done this, and what would have happened if she had been hurt. And basically they're like, okay, well, don't ride your bike for the rest of this thing. You're already here. We're glad you're here. Okay. So they share stories. Oh, she also went down this road that Reiko wanted to see. And the next day, of course, they have free time. They're supposed to go walk. They might go walk with some people. They sneak off to where her bike is parked, get in the Cub, and drive around. And this is like they take off like the container on the back so that Reiko can get on the back of it. And she puts her arms around Koguma so they can ride. And they're both smiling, and the music is upbeat. And it's just cute to see them together. Um, because like it's just I have over these 6 episodes really come to want good things for Koguma. I want her life to change. I want her life to continue to change and to grow, and for her to have new experiences and like I don't know, this like to change her, actually change her for the better. Like I want good things for this character. So for her to have opportunities to have good things, I'm so happy about. It's just like one of those things. Immediately, just like this girl rules. I want good stuff for her. We find out that Reiko's Cub didn't survive her summer job. She really just beat it to hell. So she's thinking about getting a new Cub, but she's going to get a CT, which is also called a Hunter Cub, which are very rare and are used like a lot apparently very popular in America as like a farmer's bike. So they're hard to come by. So she's looking at getting that because she's the one that's knowledgeable. And also, I don't know her name yet because I haven't looked it up. But there's a character in the promotional material. She's in the opening. There's another girl that you see her a few times in group shots because she's a classmate. And I want her to get introduced. Like, we're halfway through the series or season, so I know she'll get introduced at some point. But I would like for her to be introduced sooner rather than later because I just want to know what her deal is. Because I just want to see what's going on. But it is a lovely little series. I highly recommend it. It's on Funimation. It's called Super Cub. If you're looking for some anime in your life, it comes with my highest recommendation, where those Snow White Notes is also a very good show, but has kind of become, it started off very promising and has gotten a little rote as it went. Super Cub started off incredible and has continued to be incredible. It is a poignant little series. And also, there's a lot of sad shit going on in anime this season. There's like 86, which is just like about people that pilot that there's a country of luxury and they're like, oh, war has been fixed because we use unmanned drones. They're not unmanned drones. They're populated by people who are considered like second-class citizens, and the general public doesn't know that and maybe wouldn't even care if they did find out, and it's like heavy as shit. That's like heavy. To Your Eternity is heavy and sad and desperately sad. Let's see what even like Durin, the Princess of Snow and Blood, something like that, which I originally described as like it's The Crow, and I'm like, it's just like it's an animated The Crow, but it's like it's a story of revenge that like is not going well for the person trying to get the revenge. Like, that's just really sad. Like, there's a lot of sad anime, so to have like things that are a little light going on right now and a little uplifting, I'm all for. So I will say, yeah, like people were like, oh, I can't wait to be crushed by To Your Eternity because it's so good, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch that. Definitely not gonna watch that because I was just like, no, I don't need that in my life. It might be a beautiful, poignant series, but I was just like, no, I'm good. I'm okay. All right, we're going to keep working on this tree. That's all the anime I've got. I guess I can tell you because he's in the news today. Andrew WK is in the news today because he is engaged to be married to Kat Denning. Dennings? I forget. And so that made the news. And so before it ended up in my feed, which it did. Eventually, someone retweeted into my feed. Someone retweeted into my feed that about, you know, if you don't know this, Andrew WK is a musician. He got very popular in the literally the early 2000s. Became very popular, had a bunch of hits off one album, came out of seemingly nowhere, uh, uh, had a whole band, lived in New York, he's a New York dude, um, uh, and put out a sophomore album, which was very different. Uh, and some people really didn't like that album, and because it was a departure, because it was a sophomore album. He didn't want to make I Get Wet 2. He wanted to make something else, and he made a different album, and it didn't do as well, and people were like, this is weird. And then he was going through some stuff, he says, and lost a bunch of weight and wasn't doing some shows and had some bad live appearances. And then the internet, in its infinite wisdom, a portion of the internet, I don't want to say the whole internet, a portion of the internet decided that's not Andrew WK. That's someone that looks like Andrew WK. Because part of it was someone from his past, most likely somebody that helped produce it or fund the thing, or someone associated with his family, started using a name that was like a made-up name to post things online about how he was betrayed and how, like, Andrew WK doesn't exist. He's like a guy that decided, like, the character doesn't exist. He's playing a role, and then people decided that, like, oh, well, he got replaced. It's a whole thing. There's this whole conspiracy that Andrew WK isn't, that the guy that we know that is Andrew WK, the public speaker, the guy that was out there, is a different dude. Yes, last work he did. Yes. So part of living in New York is that the founders of the Proud Boys are like Gavin McInnes was a dude from helped found Vice, and he was a New York institution. And I unfortunately have a minor connection to Gavin McInnes. He did a couple shows at UCB that I teched. I'm in a photo years ago where he was a guest on a show, and we did a group photo that someone was just like, hey, why are you with Gavin? And I was like, well, at the time he was just a shitty dude from I knocked over the bell. He was just a shitty dude at Vice that did shows at UCB. He would later become much shittier of a dude. It is and then at a certain point you have to go, oh wait, I am vaguely associated or very associated with garbage people. I need to make it publicly known that that's not my thing. Because even though Andrew WK is a musician, he was really into the alt comedy scene. There was a thing called the Emerging Comics of New York. Eventually, it just became ECNY. They got rid of the Emerging Comics part. It was a New York-based award show for comedy stuff in New York. I won Best Technician 3 years in a row. They would do like, and the final award was Best Emerging Comic of the Year. And Andrew WK gave out that award, and like showed up for like 5 years out of the 7 years the awards happened to give out that award, because they kept asking him to come back. He lived in New York. He owned a venue. He and his then partner owned a venue, and he was just like, I always like comedy. Also, when he was getting into the public speaking, he would come by and do comedy shows, because he would do like, talk show segments on stuff to kind of get experience doing that, because he was like, I don't really want to talk about music. I want to talk about the public speaking stuff that I want to start doing. And people were like, sure, we would love to have you on. You could talk about whatever you want, Andrew WK, please. So he would come on and talk about stuff that he was into and public speaking. That's how it kind of got to start doing that, or got practice doing that. But yeah, always a cool dude. Had nothing but great interactions with him backstage. Anytime I would talk to him, he is both. I said this on Twitter. He is both hype all the time and super chill. But yeah, you just got the vibe that like he was like down to get into stuff and also very relaxed and like nice. And it was a fun combination. Oh, so this wants to go. Shoot. This wants to go here. There. We did the top part of this. This is all done. Now we'll do the other side, I believe. And then we got to put some branches on it. And then we're doing. Geez, was worried the story was going to go someplace bad. Glad he's okay, too. Yeah, like I said, I have nothing. So I also want to make this clear. I do not know. I fully believe that Andrew WK, the musician, did all right because he had connections because his dad was a well-known attorney and he knew people in the music industry and doors are open for him. And I'm sure that there was a lot of help in the first album. There was a lot of help with the first album. I am fully believe that. But I've met Andrew WK before he was supposedly became a different person. With a different, like a new person became Andrew WK. I have met both Andrew WKs. It's the same guy though. So supposedly I would have met the replacement and not and also the original. I have only met this one dude. Every time I've met him, he has been the same guy. I've been in the room with him and no, he is the same dude. He just like had a fucking weird dramatic time. And he's also like hasn't been open about like he hasn't named the person that like he says blogged on his website and said some stuff. He hasn't talked about who this is. It's clearly a family friend and he doesn't want to like out that person but like had a bad business arrangement. And most likely it is related to, you know, from reading up on it and all that, it is probably related to he wrote, he did his second album wasn't going to be as popular as his first album because it was a different kind of sound and that somebody was mad about that. So someone you've met, you've seen her shows, talked to her at merch table, Amanda Lepre, headed a video game music band, Descendants of Edric, and she's still is the guitarist for Andrew WK. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I've met, like definitely this dude just like had some bad stuff. Last person says, yeah, I know her too. She's local and used to open for the Proto Men when they came to town. Hell yeah, that rules. But yeah, I got nothing but nice things to say about him. Again, I don't know. I don't believe that he is, at the very least, I do not believe in the conspiracy theory that he was replaced and is a different person. Because here's the thing. If you're an actor playing the role of Andrew WK, if you're an actor playing this role, why are you making appearances at alt comedy award shows? Why would you do that? If you are Andrew and you are a weird musician dude that like had bizarre success and is never going to be able to recreate that, but like continues to earn a living doing some cool weird stuff, I would say you totally would be like, yeah, I'm not a comedian, but comedy people want to hang out, because that to me is a universal trait. Is that like people who are in other industries, when they get invited to do comedy shit, are like, hell yeah, I'm doing that. And that's everyone from Andrew WK all the way to one of my favorite odd things is sometimes people go like, hey, why does John Hamm do like Comedy Bang Bang? Why is John Hamm like on Doug Benson's podcasts? What the fuck is going on with that? Why is the Mad Men guy do all that? Why, you could maybe be like, oh yeah, he's in Bridesmaids, sure, whatever. But like, why is he at like alt comedy? When it was still a place, why was John Hamm at the Meltdown, a small venue in the back of a comic book shop? And the answer is because before he was Don Draper on Mad Men, he was John Hamm, LA actor who really liked stand-up comedy and alt comedy. When the show debuted, a bunch of comics were like, wait, I know that guy. That's the pretty damn handsome guy that wears a leather jacket that would like go to M Bar and watch these comedy shows. So as soon as he became like somewhat of a household name, like a known person, people were like, of course they were like, hey, do you want to like be on my podcast or like be on my comedy show? And he said, damn right I want to do that. I always wanted to be on these things. I love these things. Now I get to because I'm famous. So now I get to be in comedy stuff. And like, I would do the same damn thing. It like fucking rules. Good for him is what I say. But yeah, he did. It was very weird one night because this was at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater East Village, the small UCB in New York. And we're like setting up for a show. I'm not even working that night. I'm just hanging out, like helping out here and there. I would do that a lot. Just come by because I was the technical director of the theater and whatever. Just around. My buddy, Connor, is getting set up for his show at the time, which was the George Lucas Talk Show. He would play George Lucas as if George Lucas had a late night talk show, which Connor would go on to do, and he did a long run of doing Sunday shows and streams for charity. He gets really invested in it. It's very fun. And John Hamm was a guest on one of the things, and it was so weird to just be like, there's John Hamm just hanging out. But he would get like, he did shows at New York Comic Con. He would get like, Connor gets great guests for that show. He would get people that had been in Star Wars movies, and just to say like, hey, I'm playing George. Here's what my George is like. He doesn't like J.J. Abrams. He doesn't think any of the new movies are good, or if he does, he likes all the stuff that people don't like about the new movies. You just have to go like, he had a whole lore for it. His George is great because he doesn't forget the premise that this is George Lucas doing a late night talk show, and he would do it for a live audience, and he was like, someday we're gonna like have that TV money, but right now we just gotta do this, and it's just such a good little show. Good damn time. He's not doing the live streams now, but I hope. I mean, he'll do a live show again at some point. I feel bad. My buddy Connor was traveling with the band Guster. Guster was on tour last year, and Connor went on tour with them specifically because the lead singer of Guster really likes improv. So they brought Connor around as like the MC of the band, and then they would do like a set, and then they would do like an improv thing that like Connor would kind of lead with like the lead singer and like one other member of the band. And if they're in town with like known improvisers, they would have like known improvisers come and sit in. And it's just the weirdest thing. And then they were on tour for not that long last year when everything got shut down. And it was a real weird time. But yeah, it's like such a weird part of my friend's life that he's just like, yeah, they had invited the lead singer of Guster to like do an improv show in New York through mutual friends. And that dude was just like, this improv rules. What's going on? And that evolved to him like going on tour with them, which is so strange. It's one of the weirdest things. All right, we are almost done with this, and then we're going to assemble it. I'm so excited, folks. Thank you for everybody that's stuck with this long build. We are not going to literally get to either the Pac-Man or the Ultraman. We'll be doing that. That will be Saturday, and then I will start a high-grade kit after that, because I don't think the two of them will even be the 2 hours, because they're very quick builds. Maybe, you know what? No, I think we'll get through all of them probably by the end, but we might not start another thing. So I'll just say that we're going to do that. But we're going to do that on Saturday. But right now, it's time to assemble this whole thing. Do we have extra pieces? Yes, that makes sense. We should have extra pieces. But we got to just assemble everything. It does come with quite a few. Oh, there's some more connectors that got to be made. So we got to do that. How many more of those we need? So we do need to make some more of these as we connect the two together. But we have done both trees. And then we are going to connect these like this. And then we need to snap some of these together, because we got to connect the back of this thing. So we need 4 of these. And then we need a couple, oh, I guess a couple of these are going to get covered with some plants. And a couple of these are going to get covered with just some clears. And that, I think, is the end of our kit. And everything else is just extras. Oh, no, I do need to do... I didn't do the top part of this tree. Sorry. I got ahead of myself. That happens sometimes. I'm just going to get all the parts that we need so I can push all the other stuff aside. Let's put all this over here. All our extras. And then we're getting there, folks. We're almost ready to put this whole thing together. Oops. All right. Whoops. That literally almost fell over. These don't stand up necessarily perfectly on their own, but that's okay. All right. Let's see if I can assemble this stuff without anything weird happening. Oh, I guess there's still a few pieces that need to get put on the end here. Two of these, two of these. Two of these get put on the end, and then we're done. Okay. I'm going to make sure I got all the pieces we need to finish this off. And yeah, last thing we want to do is that. Okay. So these are all the things we need. These are all pieces. These are all extras. They come with lots of extras. That's really nice. Good job. Extras. Okay. Let's connect this, and then we'll raid. We are going to raid at the end of the stream, so we will do that. But we're going to connect this together. We'll do it like this because we do have to get the yeah, together. Okay, okay. All right. So, oops, did knock over something. It is a little hard to like get this without knocking things over, so I'm going to be careful as I do it. I'm going to try to be careful as I do it. Okay. So, we'll do this here where this is connected. We are got to get this here, like this, and then slides in, and should lock in place. Oops, I knocked over a thing. We'll get to that in a second. This is the best time to do this is when I am at the end of a stream and a little tired. That is 100% clearly the best time to be doing this. But I do want to finish this up because I do want this to be over with. Okay, locked in place. Now we'll hold it the other side and slowly, we got to do the other side here. Get it in. Okay, that's close. And then lock in place. All right, we did it. We did that part of it. Now we want to do the connectors here. But yeah. And then do all these connectors. I'm putting in things here to lock this in place. This thing is huge. It is so big, so massive. This is just monstrous. And we'll just get this together here. Get all these connectors in. I'm doing on the back. I will take a bunch of photos of this when it is done. It'll go on my Twitter and my Discord when this is completed. And what does this look like? So we got little things that go around on the trees. Why we couldn't do this earlier, I don't know. We had to do this here. So we got to put this here. Just little finishing touches on this that we'll put on it. And then we will call it quits. This was a massive undertaking. I'm so glad that Mike sent this to me. Thank you again, Mike. So happy to be finishing this up. This has been a joy to do and a big old project. And I'm looking forward to doing a bunch of model kits that are not this thing in the very near future and putting this to bed because, as I said, this has been an undertaking. But the results are wonderfully wild. And that's going to do it for this stream and this kit. Oh boy, it's done. So if I hold it by the tree, here it is. You can see there's this side, and then I can flip it over, which I won't now because I'm going to take a photo. Both ways, under the light, basically, so I can get some good shots of it. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to go to this. We are going to go and raid. That's what we do at the end of every stream. So we're going to go raid. So thanks for being here. I'm going to go see who's doing stuff on Twitch, and we'll go hang out with some people. So come check that out. Twitch.tv/me to see. Nope. There it is. All right. So we are going to raid, and I will be back on. Thank you very much, T. On Saturday, we'll do Pac-Man. We'll do we'll do Pac-Man. We'll do Ultraman, and then I'll start a model kit. Let's see. Okay. I mean, we're going to do it. We're going to go hang out with Jordan. Jordan's playing Dota 2. Try to have fun in Dota 2. We're going to go hang out with Jordan because that'll be fun. I think Jordan's got friends with him, and that'll be fun. But yeah, if you're like, hey, I'll watch some fucking Dota 2, come on and join the raid. Come hang out with Jordan, who is great, a.k.a. RayFK. Please come on this raid. It'll be very fun. We're going to go hang out. Maybe you'll learn something about Dota 2, or you'll just hang out with some nice people. You deserve that. And I'm going to get photos of this and put it online, and then I'm going to figure out where I can put this big dang old thing. So thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I'll be back on Saturday with model kits. Model kits! And I'll see you in the next stream. Thanks for being here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.